Hello, open source silicon enthusiasts. Last week I got back from my trip to the Free Silicon conference in Paris. There were a lot of great talks, and it was especially nice to catch up with old friends and make some new ones. I interviewed a few of the organisers, presenters and attendees to give you a flavour of the conference. Thanks for joining me.
Matt, thanks for
You're one of the main organisers of the Free Silicon conference. Tell us about the aims and why you do it.
Well, the aim of the conference is to promote open source silicon. And we think it's good because chips should be completely open, should be understandable, and people should have the tool to make them even at home without paying millions in license fees.
Something I totally agree with.
Perfect, yes.
Yeah. What do you want to tell anyone that's watching about the Free Silicon conference?
Please check the video recordings if you haven't been here. There's tons of interesting talks, all different in their own ways. And it's a format which is atypical, in the sense it's self-organized. People come here relaxed, do tons of questions, and it's really interesting, I would say. So go and check the videos.
I was been asking people what their highlights have been, and a lot of people have been saying having the long lunch break where you can really get to know people and have a chat.
Indeed, we actually designed it in purpose.
Yeah.
So there is a one and a half hour of lunch break, coffee breaks, coffee break in the morning before the conference begins, because we really wanted people to get together to discuss, because that's the secret sauce of open source, sharing, discussing, and not be alone. So
if people want to get involved for next year, what should they do?
Just check out the FSiC 2024 page as soon as you announce it, and just send us an email and propose a talk.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thanks very much, Luca.
Thank you, Matt.
Okay, I'm here joined by Thomas. Thomas, give us a very brief introduction about yourself.
I'm a PhD student in Luca Benini's group at ETH Zurich, and I'm also a member of the Pulp platform, which is also led around Luca Benini. And I'm mainly working on memory systems for my PhD, efficiently moving data on AXI buses. So this is a bit at the center of my research. And as a side project, we are also very interested in open source silicon. Of course, because Pulp is doing most of its work in the open, we are also working now towards a fully end-to-end open source solution where we can have open source RTL, hardware, software, but also our own open source silicon using the open source PDKs.
So yesterday you did a talk about Iguana. So that's a Linux-capable RISC-V chip.
Yes.
So that's going to be up on the web soon. You can check that out. And you said some really interesting things about because you're normally using the proprietary tools, and this time you're using the open source tools and targeting IHP's new open source PDK. What's been the kind of biggest challenges?
The biggest challenge is just that so much thing was new. Usually if we using a new tool or a new node, we have the rest is known, but this time we had well-known hardware, but a new node and new tools. So this was the mix of this uncertainty was one of the largest challenges, and also just because the tools, they are not that stable and not that nice version. So I would say this was the second issue, that we could not rely on a nicely prepared release version that is stable and works.
Yeah. So in the end, you actually the thing that you taped out, you used the proprietary tools because you hit a problem at the end you couldn't solve, right?
Exactly. This was exactly one of those issues where 3 days before the tape out, 4 days before the tape out, suddenly an issue appeared where we got stack traces, and when we tried to work around those stack traces, we could no longer meet the timing, and so we had to unfortunately pull the plug. And
tape out deadlines.
Yes.
So better luck for next time.
Yes, we are super confident that the next time it will actually work.
You'll have all that experience under your belt.
Yes.
So is that going to be in December, the next one?
We are not yet 100% sure, but this is of course what we are targeting.
Great. Okay, excellent. And what's been a highlight of the conference for you so far?
There were quite so many highlights. I would say I'm extremely fascinated by this modular open source computing platform. That was the
Luca.
first, I guess, the first keynote talk.
MNT reform.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly, and also the last talk of the day,
The sustainability one.
exactly.
Yeah.
This really made an impression on me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Because the rest of the talks, I know many people out of the field, so
Yeah. You've kind of heard what they're doing
yes,
already.
exactly.
Yeah.
But those were two topics that so far I was not really into, or it's not really was on my radar. So
Yeah.
this was really something that, yeah. And I'm now looking forward for mainly tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm a digital designer mainly, but I'm also interested in the analog part. I had quite many lectures in also analog design, so I also want to know what's going on there. So I'm not, losing contact to that side of the ASIC design.
Excellent. Thanks very much for your time, Thomas.
Thank you for having me.
Cheers. Welcome again to another short interview here at the Free Silicon Conference 2023, and I'm very happy to be joined by Jørgen. We met last year, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
At
Thanks a lot.
At the last one.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit about your involvement, what you've been up to.
Yes, well, I've been kind of working in the open source space since the last 3 years. So I used to work in a company that was acquired by Infineon. Then I spent like 3 years taking the small startup into big corporation and left again. Because there you see all your good ideas being washed away in the big company way of doing. So you have lots of license, you have all the tools you want, but this is not the way that I would like to do chip design for the next 25 years. I've done chip design for 25 years and I want to do chip design for the next 25 years, but I want to do it in the open source domain.
I think you shared a photo of you in the countryside in a caravan doing chip design, just like in the nature.
Yeah, so we have a conference called Born Hack. So it's basically a scout camp that's been turned around into a big facility with fiber connection directly coupled up to the internet, and then security people, hackers, computer science meet for 1 week out there camping, enjoying themselves. So I take my caravan out there and I work from there 1 week.
Okay, yeah.
That's nice.
And you've been working on these hacker camps. So that's Born Camp. When's the next one happening?
So the next one is coming up in start August. And the first year I was there 3 years ago, I made a speech on open source chip design, and I'll do another one now.
So if people want to get involved and join that workshop, how should viewers get in contact with you?
So there's a website, Born Hack.
Okay.
I can share the link with you. So there. So it's basically pack your tent, go out there, spend a good week there. I'll be doing a workshop with the tiny tape-out thing. So that's what I'll plan to do.
Nice. Yeah. And what's been one of your highlights of the conference so far this year?
Here? I think it's very, very good to meet with the environment, to see what had happened within 1 year, and a lot have happened. The tools are getting better, more people get involved, and it's just good to see. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jørgen. Thomas, good to see you here at the Free Silicon Conference. You did a talk earlier yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And one of the things I found interesting there was your point about being able to use silicon in space to increase the value. Can you just tell us a little bit more about that in your words?
Yes, I mean, broadly speaking, when you design any electronic system, you want to optimize it for power, for area, for its performance essentially in a given swap, so size, weight and power. And what we've seen is people like Apple do that the best way they can with an iPhone by making the best silicon. And when you're talking about launching a satellite into space, obviously it's very constrained in the cost that you need to launch it up there. You need it to be very reliable when it's up there. And we see that basically designing custom silicon that's perfect for the space application is very valuable. And it's not really been possible until now. but the kind of the open source and this kind of new movement is making it possible for small companies like us to do this for the very first time.
Great. What is it about the open source tools that make them suitable for you as a startup?
Yes, I mean, the first one everyone thinks of is the cost, so you don't have to pay Cadence a lot of money. But for us, that's kind of only part of it. For us, we really want to use the opportunity with the new tools to reimagine how you actually design chips, how you design electronics in totality, how you really think about the whole process, and we're using this opportunity to reevaluate that. And the exciting thing is now people are really thinking about how this all works and how it all fits together, and we're hoping to join that and kind of change the way things are done. So that's it's a mindset of rethinking how everything's done.
Okay. And what's been one of your highlights of the conference so far?
Just meeting everyone. I mean, it's a fantastic group of people, and some people I've met online, chatted to over chat, but being able to stand in the sun and talk to people, sometimes over a beer, it's perfect.
Yeah,
so,
excellent. Great. Thanks, Thomas.
Yeah, thank you.
So, Rene, good to see you here at the Free Silicon Conference. A lot has changed over the last year. We were at the IHP workshop 2 weeks ago, where we got more news of the upcoming open source PDK. You want to tell us a little bit about what's going on with that and when it's going to be ready for us to tape out on?
That's a good question for the first tape out. We had good progress. I think started to provide some information that tool developers can start. And I was astonished also in our workshops that some people are really using it. And probably end of the year there will be the first tape out for digital chips.
Yeah.
As you know, IHP is also going for RF and analog.
Sure.
So it will take some time. I think another year, I suppose. I hope next year, I think we want to start with some mini ASIC. We can start with analog design and RF a bit later, so maybe 25.
Okay.
But with our digital, I think end of the year, then let's hope we have a successful tape out. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there was a tape out recently. I just spoke with Thomas about the Iguana project.
Yes,
so that's gone on. When did that shuttle run?
It was started also the same 2 weeks ago during the workshop. I think they did not manage 100% open source. So it might be 90% with open source tools. And so finally, hopefully in September or December, they will manage to do everything with open source. But it's already now made. I think the flow should be okay. Of course, tape out is always a stress situation for designers, so they didn't manage everything, but hopefully chip will work. And I think we also got to know from this HEP project, they have also a fully open source chip, but still using partial the commercial PDK.
Yeah.
But there's the same goal, end of the year, they would like to convert everything to open source and then have a fully designed chip with open source tools and PDK, and that's the goal, end of the year.
Super exciting.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Right.
So tell me one of your highlights of the conference.
The highlight was lunch break. Not about the food, of course, but about the people. Get to know so many new people, new contacts. Also get to know companies really doing some product ideas with open source and partly have already products. So yesterday was one presentation about space components with open source tools. I could not imagine that European Space Agency is accepting this, what they are doing. So there's same also a real trend to open source, also in space business. That was really amazing. And I had a chat with the guy today, so I think there are a lot of ideas for the future.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thanks, Rene.
Okay, thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I'm happy to be here with Dan. Dan, you've come all the way over from
San Francisco/Berkeley, yes.
University of Berkeley. That was the first synchrotron I visited.
Very cool.
Yeah. And tell us a bit about yourself and why you're here at the conference.
Yeah, so a bit about myself. So I'm a PhD candidate at UC Berkeley, and I've spent most of my kind of adult life and career in doing some version of analog IC design and software therefore. And my research and last several years of work has really been on the latter. So software for designing analog circuits. And that's what I came here to present. Now, the latter half of your question of what brings you here to the conference was I originally came to FSiC in 2019 when my wife and I were briefly living here in Paris, and I don't remember how I heard about it, but I more or less crashed. And
so you were here in 2019?
I was here in 2019. It was quite a bit smaller, yes. So that was the year before there was, Skywater, and the open sourcing of a couple of these PDKs has been a real kind of central rallying event for a lot of the activity here, a lot of the folks here. So the year before that, and it was certainly a bit smaller and a bit different. So it's great to see that it has grown and there has been this increased enthusiasm.
And so your talk was recorded and you'll be able to check it out from the Free Silicon website. Just give us a little bit of an overview about what you were presenting.
Yeah, so I presented a couple of pieces of software that are infrastructure for our research. The primary one is a hardware description library. If you like making circuits, you like writing Python code, HDL21 is what I would recommend you check out.
Okay.
And that is of a kind there are a good handful of nice kind of modern hardware description in kind of modern programming language, libraries, languages, pieces of code. Another very prominent one also from over at UC Berkeley is called Chisel. We saw some presentations this week about users of Chisel. We saw some presentations from users of another Python-based one called Amaranth. HDL21 is focused on the analog circuits, right? So if you're making a transistor at a time, if you're making the op amps, the things that use, the things that you have to invoke SPICE on, this is the one that's
so rather than drawing, you're writing?
That's right. The original sort of conceit was as a replacement for graphical schematics. And especially having the capacity to build up, to have these things in code, where it's very helpful to be able to, especially in a kind of closed loop, invoke simulation, get some data back, manipulate them, do a lot of the stuff, at least more automatically. But then two, embed some more of the information that the graphical medium often has a pretty hard time with, right? So structure among sort of adding reuse and structure to these things is often a little more cumbersome than you want, and so less of it happens, particularly both among piles of circuits and among connections. And so there are lots of nice facilities for reusing these, generating them, having these bundles of connections that the folks making analog circuits do all the time and just don't sort of notice it or wouldn't say they're doing it. But once you have these built-in capacities that make it very easy to do so, I think it's very hard to go back from.
And what's been one of your highlights of the conference so far?
I think the whole thing's been great. It's been great to be back here. It's actually the first time I've been in town since the 2019 version. And just great to see all the added energy and growth and a lot of the projects that have gotten shown off.
Great. Thanks very much, Dan.
Yeah, thank you.
So it's the last day of the Free Silicon Conference, and I'm here with Harald Pretl, who you've already met on previous videos on the channel. For people who don't know you, how would you introduce yourself?
I'm a professor at Johannes Kepler University in Linz, Austria, and I'm dealing with microelectronics.
For many years, right?
Many years, super more than expert. 25.
Yeah. So your talk yesterday was about this analog to digital converter, and I thought personally it was great to see such an involved and good presentation. You'll be able to see the video, everything was recorded. And I think that these kinds of projects are so useful because this IP will get taped out and then it will be measured and then it will be a really useful building block.
I mean, that's the idea, and this is the hope. The credit for this work actually goes to Manuel Moser, a master student of mine who did really a great job on this ADC, and I really wanted to do this and hopefully more in the future, because I've always kind of felt like a waste. You do great master theses, and if you do them closed source software, and PDKs under NDA, they just essentially they go into a drawer. And now if you do it open source, you can publish it, other people can benefit and learn from it, so I think everyone wins.
What would you say is the kind of the big challenge facing us in the open source silicon world at the moment?
I think tools are okay, PDKs are there. I think it's small pieces here and there. I mean, some features are missing, you have bugs in the tools. But I think the biggest bottleneck at the moment is getting the designs fabricated and back in time. Because you can tape chips, but it takes quite a bit of time until they are back.
Yeah. And what's been one of your highlights of the conference?
As last year, pretty good talks. I'm again amazed at what people do and are able to do on small budgets, essentially, on their time. Great product. I think there was also now an increased awareness of ecological things, how to make things sustainable. There have been a couple of interesting talks.
Yeah, great. And the crowd has been a great crowd, hasn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, wonderful people, very motivated, very capable. So it's a lot of fun to be here.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah. So make sure you have it in your diary for next year and come along. All the talks are recorded and will be published shortly on their website and PeerTube channel. I'll leave links in the description below. See you there next year.